sale of machetes is now illegal in Victoria.
The state of Victoria has banned machetes. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about what's banned, what's not banned, are we allowed to do it, and how does it affect us who camp regularly in this state. I know there are quite a few people who camp with machetes and different sort of chopping knives to use in bushcraft, chopping firewood, all that sorts of things where you have a legitimate reason for having them.
State government announcing it will cover machetes of more than 20 centimetres.
20 centimetres? Fair dingham. So is my cookery now illegal? And what about this cooking knife? This 21 centimetres. Are these now illegal? Actually, before we go on, I might just put these over here out of range because that inanimate object might jump up and hurt me. That's why they're banned.
Under an interim ban enacted after a terrifying fight.
Yes, there is an interim ban that is an interim ban on the sales of machete in Victoria. This interim ban will stay in place until legislation is passed later in the year to make it rule of law moving forward. This ban comes after a couple of incidents that happened in Melbourne. One of those incidences was a fight that broke out between a couple of gangs. Someone bought a machete. No one got hurt in that incident, but the potential was obviously there. Allegedly, a 20-year-old that was involved in the incident was already out on bail. He was charged and he's allegedly already out again on bail after this happened. Machetes are the problem. But surely that's not right, because here in Victoria we have tough bail laws.
Some breaking news tonight from the Victorian Parliament. We've just passed the tough new bail laws, the toughest in the country.
There was another incident that happened a couple of days before this where the police were, well, let's say they were interacting with a person who had a machete, and that was involved with a car chase or something like that, and the woman that was driving the car pinned a policeman against a wall. The policeman drew his service revolver or pistol and unalived that driver. So that was two incidences in the space of a week. And this prompted Australia's first machete ban. I can hear you asking right now, Shane, hold on a minute. Hasn't machete violence in Melbourne been a thing for like some time? The answer to that is yes. Yes, it has. There was a gang, exactly the same sort of thing that happened in that it was in a shopping centre. There was a couple of gangs that were fighting each other. Machetes were there and someone even shot a gun. So why did it get banned now and not, well, then, or the time before that, or the time before that, and so forth? A cynical person could certainly argue that it is politics and the public perception, or even just the narrative. You see, just a few weeks ago in Melbourne, the protest capital of Australia, there was an unusual protest. People who don't normally protested at the government's fire tax. They call it a levy, but it's a friggin' tax, and they're taxing people in the regions through the arse. They're really hammering us with this fire levy tax. And all the fireys went down there and protested this, and it was in the stories, it was in the news, and it was going off, and it made the government look pretty bad. So I guess the government needed to change the narrative around, or not the narrative, but change the public perception of how bad they are. The government needed some, positive press. So the government introduced this machete ban, and they were quite proud of the fact that it's the first in Australia. It was sensationalised all over the media about anything bladed that was over 20 centimetres was now banned from sale. Where does this leave us? Where does this leave the camping community in Victoria? Or if you're visiting Victoria, where does it leave you? It's a fair question. If you have a bladed device, they keep on calling them weapons, but they're just friggin' tools, then some idiots are using them as weapons. But if you're carrying something, according to the mainstream media, that's over 20 centimetres long, you can absolutely be arrested for this. There are two parts to this. One is the sale of machetes and one is the possession of said machetes. Right now, as this is being uploaded, the sale of machetes is the only thing banned. That's it, nothing else. Later this year, machetes will be classified as prohibited weapons under Victoria's Control of Weapons Act. I've spent long enough looking through the Consumer Affairs website for Victoria, which is the one to come up with the rules around this machete ban. That is the sale of machetes. I can tell you now there is zero reference at all about anything to do with 20 centimetres. That is just the media going nuts. There is nothing in the legislation, there is nothing in the Consumer Affairs. In fact, the head of Consumer Affairs said this.
The ban notice that's been issued in Victoria doesn't require any length of measurement for something to be or not to be a machete.
So this knife here, this one here, this is safe. This one's not going to hurt me, but that one down there on the ground, it could still jump up and get me because machetes are dangerous. In all seriousness though, what about my cookery? What about your machete? where does this leave us campers? Well, if you have a legitimate reason for having it, like agriculture, like a tool for camping, it's totally fine. You can keep it, it's no problem. That is right now, at least. Later on in the year, when they actually pass this law, who knows how that's going to sit. I dare say there's going to be exceptions if you have a genuine reason for having it. But like most things that happen in Australia, when things are banned, all the law-abiding people hand in their banned bits of gear, whether that be firearms, or in this case, machetes. And all the people who are actually causing the problems, well, they're going to hold on to their machetes or go and make their new ones. It's absolutely pointless in my opinion. But for us right now in the camping community, this means absolutely nothing for us. Nothing whatsoever. In fact, I would suggest that even when the ban is in place, the police are probably going to be targeting things like shopping centres, railway stations, things like that. They're not going to come out in the bush here to check on what you've got to carry. But for right now, we're fine. Don't be caught up in the media hysteria about all of this sort of stuff. Just go to the source. I'll even link them down below if you don't believe me. And that's it for today, guys. I'll see you later.